kinda looks like a fruit roll-up.
Quit licking your toys.
I wasn't. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends 80th Anniversary Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. As always, the reason I'm doing these all together is because last week I was going around to Walmart's trying to search for the Captain America all crazy, and at the first Walmart, I found Captain America, and I found Thor, and I thought, oh, all I need is Iron Man now. Went to a different Walmart, there was Iron Man and Thor, no Captain America. So, between the two, and I know that is a very lucky break. Reading a lot of comments online, it's like, I can't find this, and then I go down the road and find them. But that's Arkansas. That's how it sometimes works. If it's a Target, yep, no. Also, later on in the review when I do the comparisons, there may be some disappointment because I don't have those old original Toy Biz Iron Man, Captain America, the Thor. I don't even have the later Walmart Thor. Back in those days, I was fast and loose with my action figures. If I didn't like something, I'd start tearing them apart, trying to work on them, make them better, and somewhere along the line, they just... So unfortunately, I won't have comparisons to the old figures. But I have comparisons to some of the newer stuff. Looking at the packages is what we're seeing in the 80th anniversary line. And kind of last year's 10 years of MCU thing. It's kind of that same general design. Window, 80th anniversary, Marvel Legends series, the names down at the bottom. On the side, you get very nice artwork from Alex Ross for all three characters. And when I first heard this was going to be an Alex Ross line, I thought, man, they're going to be stylized. They're going to be exactly like it. I wasn't expecting it to be very classic inspired, which I know Alex Ross is for the most part, but you know what I mean. I didn't want something that wouldn't fit in with the rest of my collection. On the backs, more logos, more warnings. You get bios for each character and then more Alex Ross art for each. Look how shiny Iron Man is. On the other side, back to those same pictures. Tops, nothing. On the bottom, legalese, barcode. So I'm gonna get these open and see what the Marvel Trinity, the big three, look like together. Once again, we're seeing this blast effect on the background piece in case you want to use that as a diorama or something and stand them in front of it. Looking at Captain America first, simply because he's my favorite. They perfectly captured the essence of Captain America in plastic form here. I don't know what else I can say about it, you know? Great Captain America. Moving on. While the scales wasn't always present in classic renditions or even modern renditions, the look stuck with me for some reason. Even when I wouldn't see it, I'd think, oh, where'd the scales go? Both are accurate, but man, the scale meld just brings something to the table. It just adds something to what could be just a spandex costume with some flares here and there. The torso piece is actually an overlay. You can see it's rubbery and comes away from the sculpted torso up in there, but you wouldn't know it unless you go digging up inside the workings of the figure itself. The shoulders here are sculpted though, and that continues onto the bicep just a little bit. The belt is nicely sculpted and a separate piece. Muscular legs, you have some wrinkles right here. You have the boot cuffs up on top of a nice foot sculpt. Sometimes we get small feet, sometimes we get overly large feet. I feel like, well, these may seem a little bit big, but it still works for the overall proportions. And then as far as colors go, it seems like these two are the same blues, but this has a sheen to it to kind of bring out that the scale meld maybe metal or something, some kind of armor. The reds are good, maybe a little bit of shininess to it, especially right here. You can see just a slight difference between the hand and the cuff. But it all matches, even up here to the abs. And then the whites, just stark white. Somebody call me. You can see that the white on the star is different from the rest of these. It's kind of overlaying that blue. I don't know what happened. Or if you find a peg full of these at Walmart, you'll see that some of them are scratched. You can see the blue through. I tried to pick the best one, and even that has maybe just a little bit of slop here and there. In fact, there may be a fingerprint right there. That's weird. Another thing to look out for when you find these on the peg, if you find these on the peg, are the eye paints. Yep, his left eye is looking a little bit different direction than the right eye. But I didn't buy this one for this head. I bought it for this head, and I made sure this one, well, even it's a little bit cockeyed, but it's better than some of the others I saw at the store. But same blue, same white. It's definitely Captain America. He's got a stern look on his face. I really like the glimmer of the eye when you hit the light just right there. Boom. Moving on to Thor. Oh, what I said about about Captain America capturing his essence in plastic form, same thing for Thor here. It's just a classic rendition that's really nicely done. He's big, he's tall, he's bulky in the muscle parts, but you'll notice the torso, it's a little bit narrow. It kind of, again, that classic look where everything wasn't Hulk-sized. He's muscled, but he still looks agile. When I first grabbed it and noticed there was some flex right here and even right here, I thought, oh, this is an overlay too, just like Captain America. But it seems his whole upper torso is made of this softer material. It doesn't make a difference in the thicker parts, but it does whenever you try to raise his arm, and that kind of gets out of the way. And I don't know if that helps with the articulation here, but Hasbro, whatever you're doing right there, let's get that on all figures. Everybody needs to move this much. Again, we see the belt as a separate piece. It has the nice T sculpted on the front. It stays snug, and it's staying right there. Again, the muscles, again, the wrinkle. Again, muscles, wrinkles, nice sculpt there. You get down to the boots where these wraps, and again, ooh, I really like this. They could have just painted that on there. They didn't. I appreciate that. But I will say, for some reason, on the left side, it doesn't look like it lines up very well. I always have a ledge right here. And it's not mismatched parts. The right leg is right. You can see where it carries through. And this one does too. There's the wrap coming through and down. And then these two don't match. These two don't match. The muscles are in the right place here and here. It's more like the hole for the peg isn't centered on this one. I don't know. The feet come in as the same plastic color as the wraps, but it has this nice gold painted on here to bring it all the way back up to the belt. The discs are just straight silver, very nicely done. There could have been some blue funkiness on here, some highlights or something, but I feel like this looks great against the no shading of the torso. The arms are actually reused from Hercules, but we get that beautiful range again that we got with Hercules, so I'm not even mad about it. The bracers are a separate piece, which we saw with Hercules, which now we're finding out that was so it could be reused for somebody else with different bracers. The cape is sunk into the torso and is not the softest material and not the lightest material, but I haven't had a big problem with standing Thor up with that extra back weight. It is there and you have to compensate for it a little bit, but it's not as bad as some other capes we've seen. Getting up to the head, there's Thor. What can I say? The golden locks coming down over the body, very nicely done with strands. Also in the back, there may be some different shades going on there, some yellow and some lighter yellow, but it's not hugely different. It's just enough to give you a tingle of shimmering golden light coming off the hair. Helmet nicely done. It's kind of that marbleized swirly twirly plastic. The wings are a softer material, and out of the package they're kind of like this. May have to take some heat, try to bring them out a little bit, maybe get some of this going on. And then the color of the eyes, it's kind of metallic, and you get that light bouncing off of it nicely. And then there's Iron Man. I didn't save him for last because I don't like the character. I love Iron Man, but there is some problems with this figure, and don't go stopping the video right now to comment about the biceps or the... Not yet, I'm getting to it. Shape-wise, it's old school Iron Man. I mean, this is the armor I grew up with in the comics. The banding around the crotch area that continues on over to the gloves, even down here on the boots. Then the big banding around the shoulders with the center arc reactor. Was it called an arc reactor back then, or is that a new... And either way, it's sculpted on there very nicely. You have these 2 points, and all of that is a nice contrast to the smoothness of the limbs. I think these are battery packs here on the side. If I'm wrong, it's been a long time since I've read the handbook while eating cereal in the morning. But those are thin pieces just attached up at the top. They're not going to get in the way of articulation. The gold parts are very smooth. It's just muscle. If I remember correctly in the comics, and again, it's been a while, the gold just kind of bloop, 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 melted over his limbs after he put the boots and the torso and the gloves on. And then as far as the colors go, most of the red is that marbleized plastic. Most of the gold is painted on. We saw 2 versions of this at Toy Fair. We saw one with a candy red, and then we saw a duller version overall. This is kind of an in-between, and I like this, but I also would like to see future versions to give us different colors to this. Maybe a stealth, maybe with the candy red and just yellow on the limbs, just to change it up a little bit. I'd like to see more versions of this, because I think they nailed the head. Yeah, it's just slots and slots. There's not a likeness to go here, but again, I feel like this is my Iron Man. This is the one I grew up with. It actually looks like this faceplate is a separate piece, but it's just sculpted. Wait, I think it actually is a separate piece that's stuck onto the red plastic, but it's not meant to come off, it's glued down. But like I said, there are a couple of problems here, but it's not the end of the world. They're kind of easy to fix. The shins right here, they kind of angle forward on the leg, and you'll see the banding right here kind of kicks down at an odd angle into the foot. That's actually because this piece from here to here is reversed. You have to turn the boot around, and then you bring the foot around here and then bring it forward. The banding now kind of travels into the foot naturally. That also gives it more bulk back here. Left side, same thing. We just turn it around, we bring the foot, turn it, and fixed. What requires a little bit of heat are the biceps. One line running here, and then on the inside you have the two lines. Same thing on the left. There's one line, there's two lines. Those should be on the outside. You see it with Thor, there's the two lines, there's the one. You see it with Captain America, there's the two lines, there's one. This extra sculpt detail here is not on the inside. This part is meant to be outside. So the forearm down is actually the right way. It's just the bicep. But I'm gonna heat those up, flip those around, see what they look like real quick. You can see that they're actually labeled wrong inside the arm. There's the L, there's the R. So as far as the factory is concerned, this was on the right side. It's put together right, but there's the lines. There's the one line. This should be on the left side. If you're inexperienced with heat and pop on limbs, it's just simply heating up the part you want to pop it off, switch it around, heat it up again if it has a problem going on. All I've done so far is switch the arms at the bicep. You'll see I still have the left hand on the right arm. If you're comfortable with just doing the bicep and not the elbows, because that gets just slightly more complicated, I don't see a reason you can't just switch the hands here. You're left with the same size holes at the elbows on the outside. You have this detail on the inside, but it's not near as noticeable as the biceps being switched. So you could leave it like that. That looks fine. That looks great, but I've already pointed it out. I might as well fix it. Flipping it around, you see the sculpted detail travels all the way up and down the arm now. The only problem is the different holes for the pegs facing outward. When I first went in there, I was about to pop it here and switch this and realized those were on correctly in the first place. It's just the biceps, so I popped up here to switch out the elbow too. Now the sculpt matches through there too. When you first take them off and swap them, the peg's on the wrong side, so you have to flip this around. Thankfully, Hasbro, where'd it go? They've made these pins with point on one side, so they're easier to pin in once you get them out. It's not like the old ones where it was a head like this on both sides and you had to heat it up every time. Now all you have to do is line it up, get the hole through there, start the pin, put it through. Hell, you can almost push it through with your finger, but I have these needle nose that don't have any kind of texture on the inside. They're just smooth. Make sure the other head comes through right here and you are done. And I don't know if that changed anything pose-wise, but my brain feels better about it now. Going over articulation, there is the standard Marvel Legends hinge in the neck going up to a ball in the skull. Can look up this far. Looks down, a little bit of tilt, swivel. Shoulders, a hinge and swivel, and big detents in there, but it does come up to there. Swivels around, rotation at the bicep. Double elbow comes up past 90 a little bit. Hinge at the wrist, swivel. Hinge at the torso goes forward, arcs back, swivel at the waist. Ball coming out to the hip comes up all the way. Back, not so much. Out, oh, it's getting a little bit better. Swivel at the thigh. Knee comes up to not quite, but most of the way. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, and then forward facing pin for rocker. For Thor, it's essentially the same thing. There's the hinge, there's a ball up in there, but because of his golden hair hanging down, it gets in the way a lot. To look down, you can look up. Actually, that's kind of better than most figures with long hair. Swivel is where it comes into play though. With the cape and the hair, that's it right there. Not much tilt. Shoulder hinges up. Ooh, past 90. Swivels around until you get to the cape, then you got to work around that. Swivel at the bicep. Beautiful double elbow range for a muscle guy. Bracer gets up and out of the way for swivel, and then because it's a weapon holding hand, it's up and down hinge. Ball in the mid torso. I wish all torsos were like this. Just look at the range of movement here. There's also a swivel at the waist. Ball coming out to the hip, comes up 90. Back, look at that. Thor can almost do the splits. Swivel at the thigh. I kind of wish that was up closer to the short line, but that not being straight, it would have been kind of difficult. Double knee comes up, not quite up to his ass, but close. I forgot to mention that knee cover is also a soft material. Swivel at the boot. I don't really care for that. It breaks up the sculpt there. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, and then forward facing pin. Iron Man, there's your hinge, there's your ball. Can look up, can look down. Not a lot of tilt. Swivel, shoulder hinges up, whoa, past 90. Rotates around. Now the figure's not this gummy. It's still a little bit warm from me switching the parts, but here's the bicep. Elbow, past 90, not bad. Swivel, hinge, hinge. Hinge of the torso goes forward, arcs back, swivel at the waist, hip comes up, not so far back, a little past 45, swivel at the thigh. Double knee, will Iron Man be the one to do it? No, they all have pretty much the same range. I think it's these cuffs. Swivel at the boot, hinge at the ankle goes way back, way forward, and then some rocker action. For accessories, Captain America comes with 2 gripping hands for no reason whatsoever. But he also comes with 2 fists, which on mine will be on there 100% of the time for looking badass and punching Nazis in the face. Those are easy enough to swap out, they just pop. But he also comes with this hand, which I don't think I've ever had this accessory. I know a couple of figures have had it. I don't remember getting, well, maybe, I don't know. Short-term memory loss is a bad thing. And I get what they were going for here. He's backhanding it. It's coming from here, so it's kind of out and coming back. It's a cool effect, but I don't see myself ever using it. It's a little bit heavy. Not having this accessory before, or, you know, forgetting about it completely, the shield does come off this effect piece right there. And then it has the flip down clippy. You don't want to clip it on. There is a hole in the back where you can put it there and he can hold his shield, but the clip works fine too. It just goes on there. It seems a little bit small, and I've seen some people on the forums using a movie shield just to give you something a little bit bigger. The reds aren't going to match as well. To put it on there with the hand off, I feel like that's just a better size. It's more of a shield, you know. He can fit behind it if he's blocking bullets or punches or super thing missiles coming at him or whatever. I think when I finally get it in the display, it may look like this. Did you get that band over that cuff? Get off that. Oh, there we go. By getting his arm up like that, I noticed some red scuffs right here that I didn't notice before, so there is that. I did find this other movie shield that's more of a candy red. Gets a little bit closer to that, but you get this extra design on the star. So it's most definitely MCU. Still, good size. And then up at the head, Alex Ross did points on the holes in Cap's mask most of the time. So they included this other head that if you were looking at it, was like, whoa, is this 2 of the same heads? The eye holes are a little bit more round, more eye-shaped. And he's got slightly more frown. But for my intents and purposes, as using this as just a classic caption, get your ass on there, or head, I guess you could say. I'm going for the more comic book rounded look. Because on the Alex Ross head, the eye is pointing off a little bit right there, and then the white of the A missed the actual sculpt a little bit. I purposely found one where the comic book head is more clean, even though there is some bleed right there, and the eyes are a little bit more straight. For Thor, he comes with this gnarly, I'll get you, evildoer hand kind of thing. But that pops out. Be careful because the bracer is a separate piece. It will fly off if you pull too hard. And there's a fist that you can plug into this side. And then, of course, he comes with Mjolnir. Very old school with the shorter handle. This is more of a mallet look. Some extra paintwork right here to bring out kind of the detail, the texture of the hammerhead. And then the inscription on the side is actually sculpted in there. That's very nice. I like that. I like the pause for dramatic effect right there, too. The power of Thor. The hands aren't the softest material in the world. Plus side, once you get it in that hand, you ain't dropping it. And then out of the 3, Iron Man gets the most accessories. He comes with 2 fists, and then he comes with 2 repulsor blasting hands. I've seen a lot of complaints about it not having a hinge here, but I think because of this hole, there wasn't enough room to put the disc for a hinge. Now that doesn't mean I'm happy about it, because I would like to have some splayed out hands without the hole with a hinge so it gives more posing options. But at the same time, if I have these hands on here, he's either going to be blasting or hovering or flying. It's going to be in use somehow. And the holes in the hands are meant for the repulsor blast. You'll notice that it is 2 pieces. You can have either the flash, the blast, or a mixture of the 2. And then those also plug into the feet if you want those for blast. And then finally, besides the standard masked head it comes with, very tight ball to get in there. Then there's also the Alex Ross helmet that has the nose to it. Not my favorite look, but I understand why it's there, because a human, if those slots are back against the eyes, has to have a place for the nose to go. Like I said, not my favorite. Unmasked, and then there's the unmasked Tony Stark head. Very 70s, 80s debonair looking. You can't deny that mustache. It has the same eye paints as the other 2 figures, with that glint in the eye if you hit the metallic blue just right. But I kind of feel like the head is large for this body. I don't know what it is. You look at the helmet head, and it's almost, well, I don't know. It may fit in there if you squeeze the ears in and then the nose. It definitely looks a little bit big compared to Cap, but at the same time, it works, but I can't get over the thought that it may be large. But getting them all three together, that's where the magic happens. Cap may be bigger than Tony Stark without the armor, but the armor brings a little bit of size up into play. I like that they're pretty close in size. And then Thor, while bigger, while taller, doesn't look too out of proportion with big old chest or something. These three were made for each other. That's all there is to it. Cap and Iron Man stand at about 6.5 inches, while Thor to the top of his helmet, not the wings, is about 7 inches. Here's Cap with some older Hasbro Marvel Legends Captain Americas. There's the comic book version and the Marvel Now, I think. This head size needs to be a little bit smaller, but I think this is my new John Walker Captain America. This is my classic Steve Rogers. I did find this Toy Biz Captain America. Ooh, it's seen some days. Now that we're getting better with proportions and articulation, and maybe not range, and maybe not paints, but I don't know. I'm liking the Hasbro stuff. This looks like a skeleton with some Captain America meat on top of it. Then here's the Mezco 1/12 Collective Captain America and the Kyoto Amazing Yamaguchi Captain America. Not my favorite Revoltech figure, but I thought I'd throw it in there for comparison. And then just to throw some villains in there, there's the Marvel Legends Baron Zemo, and then the Mezco 1/12 Collective Red Skull. This is what I use in my display. I feel like it's the best Red Skull. For Thor, like I said, the Toy Biz stuff is long gone, but I apparently don't like the Hasbro stuff either. I cannot find any of them. But my favorite Thors have always been Marvel Select. Here's Marvel Select Modern Thor and then Classic Thor. I'm happy to finally replace this one with the Legends Thor because look at that face. Ooh. And then here he is with the Hasbro Marvel Legends Modern Style Beta Ray Bill and Hercules. Even though they share arms, Thor is still a little bit taller than Hercules, so that rivalry can continue on through the ages. Here's Hasbro stabs at Loki. Here's the classic version, and then back in the not so great days of Hasbro, but I still like this figure. The two classic renditions though, they go well together. We got scales for Cap. I'd like to see actual scales on Loki someday. But apparently I did like the Toy Biz Loki enough to keep it intact over the years. It needs a new face paint, but there's just something about this. Tell me, baby, do I make you? And then for Iron Man, definitely a better size than Hasbro's previous attempt at this armor. Oh man, that is so scrawny, so small. That doesn't fit. But it's a little bit bigger than what I thought was a nicely scaled, what is this, Bleeding Edge? I did find my Toy Biz Heroes Return, Reborn. I'm terrible with these names for Iron Man. But here he is with the Mezco 1/12 Collective Iron Man, who is missing his faceplate because of a big-ass Megatron falling on my shelf and this popping off somewhere. I will find it one day, I swear. But then there's the Kyoto Amazing Yamaguchi Bleeding Edge Iron Man, which is probably my favorite Iron Man figure. Even though I love this one now, something about it. I love how these two are almost the same size, and it's kind of the same armor. The Mezco is Mezco-fied, though, with the extra details. So if you wanted a choice, you have a choice. Here he is with the Hasbro Dr. Doom that I, again, dirtied up a little bit, glossed up. We have a new one coming, but I'm still kind of fond. Now, don't get me wrong, this is going to be replaced, but I'm still a little bit fond of this, and these two look great together. Although the scale is creeping up a little bit, especially compared to that Bucky Cap body. It looks fantastic with the Build-A-Figure Ironmonger. So at the end of the day, it is amazing to get classic renditions of these three characters on the shelf. Now I just need to find that Wolverine and Hulk 2-pack, and maybe a new Giant Man and Wasp, you know, to just give it all that Hasbro feel. Thor is amazing. It's my mind's eye version of Thor. Captain America, love the scales, love the shape, love the stylings. Wish I could get another version that's kind of in a lighter blue, just to give it more of that classic feel. And then, like I said with Iron Man, this was my Iron Man growing up. This version of the armor, I'd like to see it in stealth. I'd like to see it in different reds and yellows or golds and maroons or just anything they want to give me on this body, as long as they fix the bicep problem before going ahead. But a little elbow grease, a little bit of heat, a little bit of pop, and it's perfectly fine. Thor and Iron Man are showing up at various stores. Unfortunately, Captain America is a Walmart exclusive, and that's why people have been having such a problem finding them. When Walmart stocks, they stock, but when they don't, it's a mess. People are just freaking out trying to find it. So if you get a chance to grab these, especially if you're a fan of classic Marvel. You like toys? Here you go. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.